Welcome to part 2. Now, the big danger a vast majority of Kenyans face, and indeed the big danger the NRM, National Resistance Movement, faces, is what I'd call the fate of Winnie Mandela. Now, many Kenyans don't know this, but when Mandela walked out of prison, that very historical moment that the whole world captured on television, and people all over the world just had tears in their eyes. After 27 years behind bars, fighting for a better South Africa, when Mandela walked out, there are a lot of things that happened. Not everybody in the freedom struggle was aligned to Mandela, including his own wife, Winnie. The hatred for the white propagators of apartheid in them was just too great. They did not envisage any South Africa with white faces still there. They wanted black supremacy. What they envisaged was them taking over everything, and the white men who had oppressed them for so long being put into prison or in the periphery. And so when Nelson Mandela met de Klerk, who was president of South Africa, the white president of South Africa at that time, indeed the last white South African president, people called Mandela a traitor. They did not understand what he was negotiating with de Klerk. They just wanted justice immediately. They wanted blacks to take over immediately. Bila story mingi. Winnie Mandela was not able to wrap her mind around the idea of the blacks working with their former oppressors for a better South Africa. She just could not grasp that. I'm not sure if she has by now, but chances are that she still hasn't. It is sad, but every freedom struggle takes out a lot from a person, and sometimes it's very difficult to adjust. Now, there's a very superb movie called Winnie Mandela, which is available online, which I suggest you take in. And there are quite a number of excellent documentaries on Winnie Mandela, even here on YouTube, which you can take in to understand this a bit better. But back to Kenya. Very many Kenyans feel betrayed by Raila Odinga negotiating. They don't see what Raila Odinga is negotiating. They just want this with the market thing removed forcefully from power. However, the reality of politics, and indeed the reality of life, is that at some point you'll have to sit down and negotiate, even with your worst enemy, even with the person who oppressed you, and killed you yesterday. You just have to sit down and negotiate, because the alternative is not even worth thinking about. The alternative would be strife and bloodshed. So what do you want blood for? Do you drink blood? What do you need more Kenyan blood poured for? Now in South Africa, the negotiations traitor Mandela carried out ended up in the ANC taking power. It ended up with the Nelson Mandela as a one-term president. And he left the stage at just the right time. The guy was not hungry for power, and left a very good foundation for his predecessors to follow. In other words, the objectives of Nelson Mandela and the ANC were fully established. They came to pass. I believe in Kenya, exactly the same thing will happen. The objectives of the vast majority of Kenyans, what is close to the heart of the vast majority of Kenyans, will come to pass. The political forces, the current environment, the nature of this agreement, what is happening in Kenya, points only in one direction, that each and every one of those major demands will be met, must be met, has to be met. Now, it is a democratic right to say what you feel and what you think about Raila Odinga, just as it is your democratic right to say what you feel and what you think about Uhuru Kenyatta. However, it would be good that if those people calling Raila Odinga a traitor, if we would start with the people who have spent not even 1 year, people who have spent 1 month behind bars fighting for a better Kenya. Let's start with those ones. Then we can take it seriously, because Raila Odinga himself has spent years behind bars fighting for a better Kenya. To me, he's my Mandela. I don't want to force you to call him that, but to me, he's my Mandela. He's my Nelson Mandela. And I firmly believe He will deliver on electoral justice and many of the other things that are very dear to our hearts that we want done in Kenya. Now, let's very quickly move to what we should expect from this agreement. Okay. Now, obviously, the judiciary is going to be strengthened. Okay, because without a strong judiciary, things like electoral justice can never happen. Indeed, no justice can happen without a strong judiciary. So that has to be number one. Other institutions are going to be strengthened and made completely independent of the executive. These are the main changes I expect that will take place to deliver to us a new Kenya. Now, what that means is that people who have been involved in corruption, people who have done things that cannot possibly stand the test of time, are going to finally meet head-on with the justice. Yeah, the writing is on the wall, and the signs are very clear that people involved in corruption will have to go to jail. And I'm not talking about small fish. I'm talking about big, big fish. Now, there's another very huge problem, and this problem is for political commentators. So what happens to those political commentators who were making themselves famous by criticizing Raila Odinga? Well, what will happen to those YouTubers who are publishing videos that have absolutely nothing in them, no content, except just one headline, Raila will never be president, and they get 100,000 hits pop? What will happen to those guys? What will happen to the 36 bloggers who are very busy spreading propaganda, anti-Raila propaganda? What will they do now? Are they still going to have a job? Is their new job spreading propaganda about Raila Odinga? Because sincerely, Raila Odinga doesn't need any propaganda. His name speaks for itself. What he has done in the past has stood the test of time. He doesn't need any propaganda to promote him. So honestly, sincerely, what will be the role of the 36 bloggers going forward? I'm very curious. And this should be very interesting. What is the future of some very big-name political analysts who became famous because they always hit out at Raila? Yeah, and they were cheered on. So what will happen now? You know, this is why I keep on saying it's good to do something that will stand the test of time. Because the world always changes, and sometimes it can change unexpectedly. And so if you did not do something that can stand the test of time, oftentimes you'll find yourself in trouble. Very big trouble. And oftentimes you'll find yourself out of a job, redundant. We don't need your services anymore, that kind of thing. Now, looking at all this major political upheaval, that started on Friday morning, I think now you're very convinced that actually what we've just witnessed is yet another overturn. What was there before Friday does not exist. We have something brand new. And this brand new thing only came into existence because we overturned the old, or rather the old was overturned. Okay? Now, despite the very positive note I have in these videos I've made in this particular series, the truth is, according to prophecy and spiritually, it is not over. Yeah, it is not over. In fact, it is far from being over. We expect many more overturns. We expect many more political shocks. Yeah, there is even the very high possibility that the current political arrangement will be completely rejected by Raila Odinga supporters. There is a possibility that the vast majority of Kenyans will abandon Raila Odinga. That is the truth. That is how temperatures were high in the country. Yeah, and that will only mean that there's much more coming. There are many more overturns coming. Indeed, I side with those people who ask a very simple question. They say, why didn't these people meet a long time ago, before the August 8th elections? And then we would have saved many lives, would have avoided a lot of bloodshed. Yeah, but I guess it's better late than never. Okay, this is what we have, and we can only expect things to continue unfolding at a very rapid and shocking rate. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.